Hello. Wondering if I am on, if anybody, it does have a little it's about a minute behind. So if you comment, it takes me about a minute to look at it. So, but anyways, I'm going to start looking to see. Okay. Looks like it's on. I'll give it a few minutes for people to come in, and I'm seeing that people are starting to come in. How you guys doing tonight? Hope you're having a good Sunday evening. Um, the chat, uh, uh, you can put stuff in the chat. It takes me about a minute to see everything. I actually put the delay, so just in case I'm talking, and so yeah, so you'll be able to see it. Good evening, everybody. While we're waiting for people, I'll say some stuff that I just found out that are non-run Disney related, but indirectly. So Disney has some discounted gift cards. So obviously Sam's has them on a regular basis, and so does Target. Sam's had them for 10% down. If you were on the Running Ears Facebook page, I actually put up on there. So it was the 7th through the 9th that they sold out. So the $200 gift cards were on sale for $180. And of course, you could use those for a lot of different things. Well, now Target has announced, I think it's coming up. I'm not sure I'm not 100% sure, but if you're a Target red card, so what's going on, guys? Thank you. Thank you for the good to you. These guys are amazing. They have their own channel. I've met them a few times. I think they're great. I kind of I kind of look in on them a lot of times, but I go through my TV, so I haven't logged into my TV. I do that on purpose, and so I go and I always see them there and stuff. And then I try to comment, and then when I go in there, I figure out I can't comment on my TV because I'm not logged in. But I always enjoy watching them. They do a great job. If you ever want to see live feeds from the parks, and actually I've seen them at Universal too. They were there. I think it was for Epic Universe, and then of course it was the opening night of Stella Nova too. They were there, so great, great seeing. Thank you for being here, saying hi. Okay, so no, to finish off, so Target and good to you. You guys want to know Target is now going to offer something. I don't know 100% know where it's going to start, but they're going to do. They're going to discount their cards by 10%. Their $100 gift card is going to be $90, but there's a catch from what I read, and I don't 100% know if this is right, but I think I am right. You don't get, in other words, you don't purchase it for $90. It's still going to be $100, but they're going to get $10 and they're going to put it into Target credit. So you're going to have credit at the store for $10, and so that's a smart business move on their part. But yeah, it's one of those that, unfortunately you don't see it. If you shop at Target on a regular basis, it's something that's good for you. I don't myself, so I don't, yeah, that's something that I don't know. But anyways, all right, we're going to give it a few minutes, and actually in about a minute, I'm going to make an announcement that actually, I believe something is going to drop tomorrow. If you're on the Running Years Facebook page, the social media, you've probably already seen it. And again, it's 7 o'clock now, so I'll go ahead and start Run Disney related stuff now. We'll take another few minutes, and then I'll go over the topic. I'll talk about what the topic is, and the topic is going to be. I've seen a lot of people with the training, and then Dopey. That's why I'm wearing my Dopey shirt here. Dopey is so unique. It's such a unique run because they threw in the marathon, and then you got the 4 days. And I've always said the hardest part to me, especially if you can run the half and the full, it's the 5 and the K are going to be pretty easy. It's the getting up 4 days in a row. By the fourth day, if you haven't done it already, even if you have just either the marathon or Goofy, you're going to realize that, man, everybody getting into the bus is going there. It's not as exciting. They're not as excited and stuff, but it's also because they're really, really tired and stuff. And so, but I've been getting a lot of questions about training, especially about, challenge, so, what do you do? And and I try to talk about that in in some of the videos that I have, but I thought this would be a good thing. I'll make it short as possible, so 15, 20 minutes, hopefully, and maybe even shorter than that. And then I'm going to take questions because I know that a lot of people have been reaching out to me. The other thing too, right now, training is probably not easy for a lot of people because the weather is getting hot, cold, especially if you're in the South. That's the way it's been. Today, I just did a 16-mile run this morning, did an 8-mile run yesterday. And I'll go over my training because I think that'd be a way that you guys can see what I do. But I'm a little bit different because I'm also a certified running coach through the RRCA. And I had an interesting conversation with somebody who had been struggling with a little bit of their one part of their training, and it was funny because their coach was RCA, stands for Road Runners Club of America. And so, okay, so let me start off because it's 7:02. So let me start off by news that I think is going to drop tomorrow. I'm pretty sure, I'm 90% sure that tomorrow is Medal Monday. I think Princess medals will be revealed tomorrow. It's going to be real cool to see them. And then, of course, if you guys are running in January, you're going to be able to see them. They've already released a Disneyland, the final Disneyland medals for a while. So come January, we'll be able to see those, and we'll be able to see the princess medals. I wouldn't doubt it if before the end of the year, they also drop the springtime surprise. So they already have them. They're just, waiting to show them off. And I wouldn't doubt it if, it's kind of like a Christmas, New Year's thing. And then we get to see all of them. The other thing we're going to have dropped later this year, and I made a whole video about that, is going to be the Run Disney calendar for next year. So, or for the next season, which is going to be 2026, 2027. If you haven't seen already, the dates for the spring wine and dine, I'm sorry, next year, 2026, have already been released indirectly because they did give out, what's it called? The coast to coast. And so you're going to be eligible, especially if you do Disneyland in January/February. Actually, it's going to be February because February 1st is when we run the half marathon. That's the one that gets you in for the coast to coast. And it looks like it's going to be a different design, which is going to be cool because for many, many years, they had the same exact design. They just changed the dates and that was it. And so now they have different designs. They have different designs every year. So that's that. Um, so thank you. Thank you, Jen. So anyways, so I was going to say, so yeah, so we're going to be able to see that pretty, we're going to be able to see, thank you for tuning in. We're going to be able to see that sooner than later. And if you haven't already seen, Wine and Dine is going to be the last week in October again. And I think it's because they're going to anticipate Halloween. And so I think the year after it falls on a different day. So I think that's when they're going to move it back in a year or two, and then move it back to the last week in November. So grateful for you guys being here. So I'm going to start off by just talking a little bit. It was a little nostalgia because I actually, for some reason or other, I started looking at my old text and it made me think of another video to do. And so you'll understand that in the future. But I got to see the actual email, and this was coming from Run Disney was part of it, and active.com was the other part because you would register through active.com back then. And it was for the very first Wine and Dine. And so it had the medals and everything. It was October 2nd of 2010. So I do have the medal. It's in my room back over there. That was my first ever Disney World run. But it was funny how we started in ESPN Wild World of Sports. We were shuttled there, and then we finished off at the Epcot Festival. But I started reading also how they actually didn't have a lot of merchandise back then. This is kind of weird to think about, and I didn't pay enough attention. But it was, and for the people who are historians about this, which I would love to just like write a whole thing about the history and how and even collect some old. Shirts and everything. But for a while there, they didn't really even have much. And I've totally forgot about this, but early on, they didn't even have it at the expo. they didn't have any of the merchandise. You had to go to downtown Disney. You had to go to Disney Springs, whatever it was at the time. You had to go to different places to get your Run Disney merchandise. And of course, there wasn't too much of it, but it was so nostalgic to see that. I posted that email on Facebook. So in the Run in Ears page. And then I actually got called up because today 11 years ago today, I ran the very first ever uh, the Avengers half marathon in Disneyland, and so I actually wore a Punisher shirt. That's one of my all-time favorite characters, the Punisher. And so that's about the closest I've ever come to a costume. I joke around with a friend of mine because she made me run with a bag, and I said, "You made me wear a costume," because I was the bag carrying guy, and this was for princesses earlier this year. But that was the closest I've had to a costume. So that's it. How's it going, David? Good to see you. All right, so we're gonna start going over, and I kind of piggyback because there's a bunch of training. A few years later, I actually have the medal here. I'll show it to you. This was my first ever marathon at Disney. This was 2012. See, you know where it is. See, we can see that right there, 2012. And man, were they simple back then? They were very simple. I keep them kind of safe so they don't chip, or I try to keep them from chipping because I know that's a problem or it can be a problem. So I have this one out, because it was my very first marathon ever, and then it was my first Disney run ever. And at that time, they did have the Goofy Challenge, and the Dopey wasn't there yet. That came a couple of years later. But then, I decided I this is actually a funny story, but it's a true story. I was walking around with my medal. Now, anybody who knows me now, I don't walk around with medals. Like I kind of leave them there. If I bring them for pictures, I put them in a bag. I kind of keep them in their plastic wrapper, so again they won't chip or anything. But I take them out to take pictures, and then I put them back in, so I don't actually carry them. I don't wear them, I should say. But this one I did. I remember because of my first marathon, and I felt ashamed as I was walking around. Manny, why did you feel ashamed? Because people had three medals. They had been doing the Goofy Challenge, and I just felt like, man, I didn't do anything, compared to these people. So the Goofy Challenge was already going. So the next year, I signed up for the Goofy Challenge. So that was my first challenge ever, and I did the Goofy Challenge, finished it, and guess what? I wear my three medals again. I decided to wear them, and I had to put them back in because I was embarrassed again. Because at the time they had four medals because the 5K was on Friday at that time. So that was the first mention ever of the Dopey Challenge because they said the people that do the 5K are now calling it the Dopey Challenge. Of course, the following year was the inaugural official, Dopey Challenge, and they added the 10K. So that was the 4 days. So and it's kind of transitioning me into the training because there's a lot of training, and that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Help you guys out as much as I can, answer some questions because a lot of people have been asking me questions about training. Number one is lack of motivation. That's going to be one. Um, Guys, the thing about motivation is I think that's something that's internal. I can help out as much as I can. Reach out to me individually if you want to. People have been doing that, and that's fine. Guess what? Every single one of us, me included, aren't motivated at times. The what I always try to tell people, what the way I work look at it is, man, I see so many people who are out there doing, and then that motivates me. So I always tell people, you guys motivate me to keep going. The reason I kept going this morning, because trust me, there was a couple of times after mile marker 12 that I said, okay, it's a long run anyway. I'm done. And I said, now I set 16, and I kept going. I kept going. I kept going. And I kept going. So other things that you could do is find a running club, see if anybody there is doing the same thing you are or having similar goals. I have done it before where I actually contact two or three friends of mine who are training for smaller runs, and then I get them to run at different times. So I meet the first one at, let's say, 6 to 7, the second one at 7 to 8, the third one at 8 to 9, and then you go on like that. And I've done that before, and that helps a little bit with speed. So motivation is one thing. And we got, what is it? Less than 2 months. I know it's less than 2 months away now. So it's coming up. And I think right now, a lot of people, especially, you get that initial burst of, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this challenge and stuff. And then little by little, it gets hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It gets hard. And I always tell people, you're going to have to learn. And if you haven't seen me say this, I say this quite a bit. You're going to have to learn how to run tired. If you're doing a challenge, you're going to have to do it. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. You're going to have to learn to run tired, and that's going to be something that you're going to just have to do because guess what? You're going to be tired, especially if you're running a challenge. So now I'm going to switch over to training because that's the bigger question that I've been getting. A lot of people have been saying, well, I've been following this program, I've been following this program, I've been following this program. And it made me really, really think. And I talked to a lot of people about it. Well, let me guess, and stuff like that. And yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. So most programs are basically cookie cutters. So anybody can write a program. I used to do programs all the time. I worked at the YMCA, and before that at Gold's Gym and stuff. And I would it would set up programs for people, and they're cookie cutters. So in other words, it was just one thing after another. Uh, so I'll answer that question right after this. But thank you for the question, by the way. Most programs are going to be cookie cutter, and there's nothing right or wrong about them. It depends on the individual. It depends on what's going to get you. Here's my 2 cents about programs. You're going to have a program that's going to you need to piggyback on a program that's going to help you be as successful as possible. If you're going for time, then you're going to have a program that's going for time. If you're going to go for distance, you're going to have to get a program that's going to be more focused on distances. So in other words, there's going to be a program that's going to say, all right, you're training for 26 miles, we're going to go all the way to 28. There's going to be some programs that say, well, you're going to be going for time, so we're only going to get you up to 18 or 20, but we're going to focus on time. And so it depends on the program for you. If you just want to finish, and so that's what a lot of people want to do. That's going to be up to you which one you want to pick. But there's a lot of different things that you can do. Galloway, and I was going to say something about Jeff because the Galloway plan, because and it really is the same program, just kind of with a different twist to it, and it's basically just modified to where run walk and run walk and stuff. And I do that too. If you haven't followed me, you know that I run when I want to and I walk when I want to. And I'm gonna to go to Jeff one time because I've known Jeff for years, over a decade. I've been running, and one of the first conversations we had was one of the most interesting. I wish I could have recorded this because this is when he won my running heart over, because we were talking about training and I was talking about how, yeah, this might not work for people and stuff. And I remember he kind of like, there was nobody there. So it was just me and him talking. And he says, listen, whatever works for that person, keep doing it. If my program does not work for you or this individual or that individual, then don't do it. And he won my heart over, my running heart over, because he was so truthful about that. And I appreciated him saying that. And so, but I think now there's a lot of programs that are going to basically just steal a lot of his, and I don't say steal because it's been around for a while, but kind of just modify it to their thing, and run this much, walk this much, and stuff. But I think I told you guys, or you guys have heard me say, I got sick and tired of looking at my phone and my watch and stuff. I just wanted to run, so I just decided as the years went by that I'm going to run when I want to and I'm going to walk when I want to. So that's that. So we're going to go back to training because, again, Galloway method and stuff. There's a lot of different things that happen with the training. Okay, so now going back to the coaches are usually going to have one basically template, and then they kind of spit it out whichever way that you want to understand it or whatever. And so now the whole thing is to make it your own. And I talked about this. I know I did a live feed about 5 months ago, and I know I talked about it a little bit, but you got to make that your own. So in other words, and that's where I always say, keep a ledger of what is working and what is not. Whatever is not working, training is basically the homework for the final exam. And so whenever you took classes or whatever it was, a project at work, you did the work. So by the end of it, you were ready. And so this is where you practice everything. And people have been saying, well, I've been following this program. Somebody either wrote it for me, I saw it online, it's not working. This is the time that you scrap it, or maybe not scrap it, but you modify it, and you start modifying, and you're going to see what's working for you. So I'm going to use myself as an example. So because I'm doing the challenge, I've been running consecutive days in a row, and I've been doing speed work. And I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing a little bit and why I'm doing stuff. But it'll make more sense in a little bit. But so today I decided, again, I'm going to do. I did 8 miles yesterday and 16 miles um, today. So I kind of learned today that towards the end, the last couple miles, I wasn't as sharp. My feet could still move, but I was a little bit off. So I noticed that I'm going to have to figure out a way to get something in my system at about the 12-mile mark or something, and maybe a little bit before, so that way I don't have the same crash that I did today. So this is where I make my notes. This is where I kind of crashed at mile marker 14. I picked it up again at 16, but I had that crash. So this is where I'm learning that, hey, I didn't do good here. So now whenever I do the run in January, I'm more set for this. And this is what people don't do. And so they kind of like follow the program, and they come up with things in their mind and stuff like that. But this is where you're going to have to start working on it. Then next time I do it, I'm going to test that. So I'm going to try something and see if there's any kind of difference. Again, this is when you do your homework. You're going to be studying. You're going to mess up. You're going to take the quizzes, and you're going to, fail, for better lack of word. You're going to fail on the quiz. So now you're going to learn what you didn't do, and now you're going to be able to learn that. So anyway, I'm going to start answering some questions. Do I think that the marathon is going to start at 4:30 for Corral Air at 5 a.m.? I do think it's going to start at 4:30, and the reason is because they want us out of the parks as soon as possible. So Galloway plan, we already talked about that, and Jeff is awesome. If you have not met Jeff, I really would advise you to go to the expo and meet with him. He's a great person to talk to. It's hard to get your long run in during the holidays. True. All the family gatherings, holiday parties. Try to stay on your training schedule. There's a lot of different things. Thank you. There's a lot of things that are going to get in your way. And again, I'm going to say it depends on your goals. If your goals are just to finish, you can find a way to just finish and do the bare minimum to get it. If it's going to be time, that's where expectations. And right now, you set up your expectations. So. What is the best way to make it physically in the parks today? Run the half marathon. What is the best way to make it physically? Okay, do you mean? And I'm going to ask the follow up question. So, do you mean getting to the run or going to the parks afterward? I'm assuming. So okay. The run the half marathon. So I'm going to answer both just to say physically, if you're staying on property, you're going to get shuttles, and so after. Okay, thank you. After it, I would say this, and anybody who's run something that is out of their norm, uh, they're tired, but they're not like I need to fall asleep tired. And so what ends up happening is I really do think that you should get up and walk around for a little bit to get the blood flowing and get the legs going. I find it easier to do it as soon as possible, unless there's some strain or something as soon as possible, um, going into the parks. I usually go back to my room and I lay down for about an hour. But again, I really don't sleep. I just kind of lay down there. Then I start stretching and then I go to the parks. One year I ended up doing about 80,000 steps because I went to the parks, and actually once I started moving, I felt fine and stuff. So a pain medication if you do anything. But okay. So after the run, when you're really, really, really tired, this is the one thing that you're going to work on. Things that you can do is slow down your pace. That can help depending, but you're still going the same distance. So when you slow down your pace on your long runs, you're just going to take longer. So that one's going to be one of those that iffy ones. I think you should really, really focus on recovery, and I'm big on recovery. Now, anybody who knows anything about trainers, and I'm a certified personal trainer, certified running coach and stuff. We do have basic nutritional schooling or education, but we can't. And I took a master's course in educate in nutrition. I'm sorry, so I know a little bit about that. So, but the thing that people do is they basically, and one of the biggest mistakes I think people do is they start hydrating a couple weeks before or a week before, and they start really drinking water. I would tell you start doing it now. Start doing anything that you can to get hydrated now. You're going to feel better, and you're going to feel better longer. So I had the 16-mile run today. So what I did was I made myself a smoothie afterward. Two different things that you can do. One is like fruits with antioxidants. I put a lot of berries in there, and then I always put some kind of root or like cinnamon, ginger, turmeric. Um, and put it in there. Flax seeds, they help the body recover. So my plan is to get up tomorrow morning and do a short run, even with the tired legs. But I've had two smoothies, shakes, whatever you want to call them today. Another good one is I'd like to get one with vegetables, and I use cucumber, I use spinach, kale. What else do I use? Lemon. I'm sorry, I use lemon. Ginger. I use ginger root for that one. Um, Sometimes I add carrots, flaxseed, and then I put water in there. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything, but I think that's what I do. And that basically hydrates you. It gets into your system a little bit faster. The one with berries, I put berries, but three different kind of berries: raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, banana, and cinnamon and flaxseed, and it usually comes out pretty good. And that helps me with recovery overall. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, just like everybody else, I feel a little bit, hard afterward. Like I can't run. It's very sore, and then I start recovering a little bit faster. So that's usually what I do. Again, I lay down for about an hour roughly. I stretch, then I lay down for about an hour. Then I get up and stretch again, and then I start moving. And today I probably have about 45,000 steps and stuff because I did move. I make myself go do something and I start moving. It feels better. So yes, local running clubs and races are a good way to keep your running up. So yes, that's something there. Yeah, they have a lot of. I know a lot of people have the woman. I can't remember the exact name, but the women's marathon was today. I was following some of my friends, Run Disney friends, as a matter of fact. All of them finished, from what I can tell, but it looked like it was hot and everything. So yeah, there's things that are going to be a little bit more, it's going to be more harsh. That's why I always try to tell people, especially now, daylight savings time is full effect and stuff. So we're actually going to be running. I run early. I get up at 4 o'clock, and by 4:30, I'm out running because I want to make sure that I get as much as I can before the hot sun comes out. Because and right now I'm running in basically perfect Disney weather because it is so darn, it's cool, maybe even cold when it comes to when the wind picks up and everything, but it's humid. And once the sun comes out, it gets pretty hot pretty quickly. And so I'm getting used to that running there. But again, I try to get up as early as I can. I've done it before where I get up at 4 and 15 minutes later I'm out and I'm running. So um that's that. But yeah, and I do have my stuff here. Hydration, again, hydrate now. Do not wait until a week or two. That's going to be probably the hardest thing to do because and like somebody said, the holidays. Remember, this is right after major holidays. We got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year, and then probably birthdays in between, all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's going to be something that you're going to have to try to figure out how to make it work as best as possible for you. Maybe drink a glass of water before you drink any kind of alcohol. I actually, because I actually tried to cut weight too. So I cut out sweets, and I kind of made it my priority to keep sweets away from me. So I done a pretty good job. So I continue to, but I'll be at Disney in a couple of weeks. So that might go out the window, especially because they have a lot of good stuff right now. And so, but yeah, that's it. All right. Any recommendations between recovery between challenge run days? Um, yeah, this is something that you're going to want to practice right now. Um, Yeah, so if you're gonna be going into a hot tub or a cool tub, use it now. When you're training for your challenge, whatever it be, and I'm gonna use the dopey. Might as well just use a dopey. The 5K I think is usually an easy one because you're gonna walk it or lightly jog it. 10K is when it starts getting a little bit more intense, especially between the half and the full. 10K and the half, and then the half and the full. What I suggest is try everything. So try, if your feet are hurting, ice them down. If the next day it doesn't work, then you know that doesn't work. You can soak them in hot water, or the Epsom salt. You can try everything that you can right now to see which one is going to work best for you. And of course, do this in between, so that way when you do your next run, your next long run, whatever it is, whether it be the half marathon, the full marathon, or the longer runs for those, you're going to be able to tell if that worked or not. And then, of course, start using that on a regular basis. Will it always work? Probably not. You're going to have an off day. So that's there. As far as eating is concerned, the my go-to is more something that allows your cells to breathe, to basically open up and stuff. And junk food's probably the worst when it comes to that. It makes you feel good right away, and you need the caloric intake. There is something about healthier food that junk food doesn't have that might be not as good. But I try to get like a chicken, kind of grill, rotisserie, anything like that, and vegetables. Salmon is very good also because they got the omega-3 fatty acids. Or if you want to supplement with an omega-3 fatty acids, I supplement with them on a regular basis. Make sure if you're not getting enough magnesium, so that way because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get absorbed by the cells really quickly. So if you're drinking a lot of water, it might just go through your system. And so that's why they always tell you, especially if you're dehydrating on a regular basis, drink something like a Powerade or a Gatorade that has sugar, because the sugar will get into your system a little bit faster. Now, that brings me to my next point, which is calories, because you do need the calories to replenish the energy that you lost. And remember, anything that has calories is energy. So, and there's things that get into your system a lot faster, such as bread, sodas, candies, and that kind of stuff. Something that's quick, it's going to get into your system a lot faster. But it's just going to be a short-term fix. So you got to figure out which healthier foods, because that are going to help with your cells, the regeneration, everything like that, because they don't help with any of that too. So yeah, you'll feel better faster if you eat any of the junk food that have higher calories, and you're going to be able to eat that and feel it. But in the long run, I think it's going to be not as good. So I would suggest what I said before. One of the things I like in between is, since I usually stay at the resorts there, they usually have some kind of rotisserie chicken with vegetables. And now they've added salmon with vegetables. So I eat that. Um, if there's something that you think that you're lacking and you start using it during your training, such as supplementing with omega-3 fatty acids or magnesium, anything like that, I would start using them now. And again, start seeing, if you're going to do, let's say you're going to do a 8 mile run yesterday, and then a 10 mile run, a 60 mile run today, you're going to see, like, I actually started drinking the shakes, and it was the vegetable ones, and I felt good early on for my run. So that actually helps for me. But I've been doing it for years, so I know that actually um, works for me. So try whatever works the best for you. Those are suggestions, because there may be people, and I know people who don't like seafood at all. So so don't get the salmon. I know tuna has the same thing, and then you get something that's a little bit different. You might try it now, and then you might have to, like, either go pick it up at a Walmart or a Whole Foods or something. Either if you have a car or Lyft when you're at Disney, or you can just order it through Walmart Plus or whatever they're called, Amazon, Kroger, whichever one delivers to the hotel. And actually, I'm going to probably have to do that myself for this upcoming run, where I'm going to have to order some things to my hotel. So I'm looking to see what else. I made notes. So I'm looking at them. Yeah, like I said, you're going to have to run, especially if you're doing a challenge. Practice running on tired legs. This is going to be something that it's gonna be an individual thing because if you start feeling a sharp pain, something like a pull is coming or something, then I would stop right there. But you're gonna there's a difference between that and some soreness. You're gonna be a little sore no matter what. You can actually try to get that soreness down, like the methods that we talked about. Soaking your legs, taking warm baths, getting into some cold baths, whatever it is, icing stuff down. Um, I used to ice my feet down, and I really should go back to icing my feet down. They seem to help my feet on a regular basis. And today I really struggle with my feet. Once I got to mile marker 14, that's where my feet really started bothering me. But now, again, it's my time to do my homework and to see, because I got a couple more long runs to do before I do my dopey. So that's that. So yeah. So basically, I think that's almost what I have for my notes. The only other thing I was gonna say, and this is what okay, so ice baths, my secret weapon between half and the full for my last dopey. Felt like a brand new legs. Ice baths can help, and they have helped me in the past. So again, that's awesome. So whatever works for you, do it. So fueling during long runs. So you want to have something that's going to get into your system a little bit faster, something that's a little bit, and this is what they call the glycemic index. So something going to get it a little bit faster. So I would recommend those gummy bears that they use. You can get them, and they are going to get into your system a little bit faster. So again, if you get them a couple miles before you start running, they can help you out. A friend of mine likes to get orange peels, or not orange peels, but little slices of orange, and he eats them, and that seems to help. Again, that's high glycemic. It's got sugar in it, but it's got vitamin C. There's vitamins and minerals in there that really do help. Any kind of bars that are not really stocked with sugar, but enough to get into your system and help with maybe protein synthesis. I used to work for a company that it was called Scout bars, and they were actually pretty good. And then they went like everybody else. They went because their sugar was, I'm trying to remember. It was a fruit, and it was actually a very sweet fruit, and it was really good because it got into your system very quickly. But to make them cheaper, they started and bring the price down. They started going to the high fructose corn syrup, which I didn't like. So that was it. But try to get something, whatever it is. Again, use it now. See if it works. If it doesn't work, throw it out and try something else. But the gummy bears, bananas help with the potassium, and they're a little bit high glycemics. Anything that's easy to carry. So that's why bars, if you, and again, my friend used to put them into a little Ziploc bag, and he would just bring them out, and he would eat the, the oranges. Again, I would always start practicing. Once you figure out when you're starting to crash, start taking them a mile or two before. So that way, because again, it takes some time to get into your system and stuff. For an 11-mile, how often should I fuel? Okay. That depends on the individual. There is people who can run 11 miles and not have to fuel at all. Maybe hydrate, but not fuel at all, and feel okay. And today, again, up to mile marker 12, I felt fine. 14, as a matter of fact. I felt the same way I did before, so I wasn't crashing when it came to that. There are some people by mile marker 1, they're already crashing. So I'm going to piggyback to what I used to say, what I said earlier, is practice it now. If you're already for an 11-mile run, if at mile marker 5 you start feeling yourself down, starting to go down in energy and stuff, then on the next run, at mile marker 4, I would get something in your system, again, a bar or something, and I would make it something that's not going to be heavy on your stomach. And this is why you test it also, because you don't want to try something there. I tested something during the run. I ate some chocolate, and it upset my stomach. So you don't want to do that. So you want to test it, so that way when you're doing your run, you're ready to go. But that's going to be an individual thing. Everybody is different. Again, some people will need more fueling, and some people will not need as much. I got water because I knew I was going to talk a lot. So So it's up to you. Um, but I would go by feel. And I was actually going to say this because a lot of the certified running coaches, because I know quite a few. At one point in my club, the club I used to belong to here in San Antonio, I got certified before I even became a running coach with the club. But they actually certified like almost every other runners, and so it was a lot of people who didn't really know, they didn't have backgrounds. And what running coaches can make the mistake, not all will make the mistake, can make the mistakes, but they think, well, it worked for me, so it's got to work for everybody else. That's not true. I'm a perfect example. I started changing a lot because when I started really getting into the coaching, and I was coaching a lot of different people, and I started realizing everybody was different. Some people needed fuel right away, others did not need it at all. I knew a guy who used to drink all night, and then he would get there and run half marathon, and he wouldn't drink water, he wouldn't do anything like that. Not ideal. Do not try this. It's not ideal, but the point is that it proved to me that everybody was different and they can get away with stuff. And then the other thing you got to look at is whatever you're doing is the long run too, because you don't want to damage your body. Um, Running is hard enough as it is. You're running. You're excuse me. So your body is already breaking down, you're doing your recovery and stuff, but you don't want to add onto it by eating stuff you're not supposed to, doing stuff you're not supposed to. So, whatever fuel you get, try it before. Yep, that's exactly right. Your body might not like it on. So somebody right here, as I said, and that's Prince Eric here, who says I feel every 4 miles. And yes, that is true. That's why you got to start, really, really paying attention. I think a lot of people, what they want to do is they have the app or they're running in a group and the coach says to do this. So they don't pay attention a lot of times. Or if they do, they're kind of dismissed. And this is where you really, really got to pay attention and say, all right, so in this scenario, every 4 miles, which means there's a possibility that that every 4 miles is where he was feeling this. So now, yeah, or 5 miles, whatever. So you start doing it a little bit ahead of time, so that way you're safer, you're better, and stuff. And even if you feel okay, you can still try to test it. And once you do your second and third long runs, let's say you do a long run, you do a 15-mile run, and you feel okay, but then you decide, you know what, I'm going to try a bar every 4 miles. And so I'm going to take a bite or two off of a bar every 4 miles. And let's say your run is even better at that time. So you do the second run 16, let's say instead of 15, you do 16 miles and you felt even better. You went faster and stuff. That's a key that that bar probably helped that. And so, and then again, once you got it and it looked like it helped, then use it again and see if it was just an anomaly or if that's what that's helping you out, and then you could start using it on a regular basis. So that's it. But going back to again, coaches go to what they know. It's just like anything else. You got to remember in the NFL, there's coaches that know more like running back kind of stuff, more passing game kind of stuff. So they get hired and they get people that are specific for that. And so the coaches have that set mindset, and it's not any different when it comes to running coach. They got this mindset that everybody's like them, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's the experience that they have, and that's the experience that I can give you. But I've learned that everybody is different, and that's why I've been a big proponent of keeping a journal. It's been a while since I kept a journal because I learned, and then I know what I can do and what I can't do. So I know what I can do. But it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to start it up again because I am getting older, and my feet are not cooperating like they used to. If there's one diminishing thing that I have, because my legs can go on for probably 30, 40 miles and still be okay, and they'd probably be running at the same pace, especially now that I've gotten back into running shape. And yes, I admit that I wasn't in the best running shape in the last like 7 years, and now I am. But the diminishing return or the diminishing thing for me is my feet. I've always had bad feet. I have arcs that are like this big, and so my foot kind of hits a little bit different, and so that's it. And one of the things you got to look at is what works for you. And when you're talking to somebody who's a running expert at a show or whatever and stuff, remember that they're an expert in their experience, and they probably are very good in their experience. But I just had somebody, and I'm not going to say specifically because I don't want to, call anybody out or anything. But they were talking about these shoes. Everybody can run on these shoes right off as soon as you buy them. Right out of the box, you can use them, and they're going to be perfect. You can run with them, whatever, and you don't have to worry; they're not going to bother your feet. Well, this person took them, ran them with 3.5 miles, and said, "Nope, that's not true." And anybody who tells you that again, it could be that that person, that salesperson, whatever, that expert experienced that for himself. Or I'm assuming it's a guy experienced them for themselves, and then they might have had 20 people that they said, and 19 out of the 20 had it fine, and so that's why they started using that. And so they started telling everybody this is a cure all and stuff. And again, that's not true. When I took master's courses in exercise science, I still remember I called this out to this professor of mine because we would actually study. So we would actually look at the scientific studies that they had, and I still remember it was having to do with muscle development. And so the whole big thing is that muscle cells do not split. And I think on the norm, they really don't. But I still remember, and I'm not going to say this perfect, but let's say there was 30 people in the study. And so 20 of them, the 20, 25, whatever it was, were right almost in the middle. So they were the average and stuff. Then you had two or three, that they didn't split, or they lost muscle cells, and then there was other ones that gained muscle cells. So I remember asking him, could it be a possibility that just somebody is so different that they actually they're an anomaly, they're different? And he actually said, good point. That's a really, really good point. So studies are made to basically get the average person. And so when even when I went and I took the course, it was based on the average. So the average person was this, the average person was that. Well, guess what? I started learning is not everybody is average, not everybody fits in this little box, and so we have to figure it out. That's why I try to help people out, and I do more in suggestions instead of saying this is what you got to do and stuff. Like, I'm going to say this: don't drink beer and run. But there may be somebody out there that says, "Man, I do it all the time and I run great." Okay, so that's my point. So, all right, so let me go back over there. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. He said perfectly. There's no such thing as the best shoe, overall best shoe. There is such thing as a best shoe for you, for as an individual. Again, if you were to see how they're made and everything, and you got to make sure that they're stable, but overly stable will actually cause your muscles to work differently. And when they do, the chances of injury go up. That's the easiest way to say that. So, in other words, if you're used to kind of going a certain way, and now this shoe doesn't allow you to go that way, well, you're going to struggle. So, you're going to be excessively sore. You're going to have pains where you didn't have them before. And those are the things that can happen. So, you got to remember what shoe is best for you. So, that's exactly there. Um, yeah, the goo, I carry enough. And that's fine, David. That's a great idea. And again, whatever works for you, keep doing it. So don't worry about that, Stephen. I don't worry about spelling. If I did, I would be the first one to say, "Man, I'm horrible at that. I mess up every once in a while." So, all right. Just any more questions? I got two announcements that I wanted to make at the end of this. So I'm going to leave it open for another at least 5 minutes to see if anybody has any questions about this. But going back, I'm going to summarize. Do everything when it comes to training, do it now. Do not wait till that weekend, or do not wait till you get closer, because this is where you can fix things, or at least fix them enough to know that it's going to be to your benefit. You're going to be able to finish. Okay. When you wait longer and longer, then it's going to be harder to fix it. And that's when you're going to get all confused. And then I see a lot of people, they post stuff online that they're frustrated because this isn't working the way it should be, and this and that, and they're looking for help. And God bless them, because I, and I always tell people, do not judge these people because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know this is their first time. You don't know what they're going, how their mind is working. So I try my hardest to help them out with at least a positive comment or something, because you just don't know what they're going through, and they might be, people are telling you, you got to, you got to, you got, and if you don't, you're doing it wrong, and then they think that there is, and again, they might be 100% new to running, and then when you're there, you're not going to know exactly what to do. And believe it or not, I believe me, I see a lot of coaches that say, "Oh, this is the only way." And if you guys who turn in later, Jeff and I, that's one of the first conversations I ever had with Jeff over 10, it's about 12 years ago. And basically, we talked about how everybody is so different. And so if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, then don't. So the marathon started for Corral A at 4:30 in January. That was the one that I missed because I got sick. So that was not my funnest. That was my first ever missing a race that I had signed up for. So what Steven said is actually very, very accurate for most people. Because of what you read online, you start self doubting. And that's one of the things that I really am trying to help as many people as I can. Because once you get there, you start realizing it's not as bad as I thought it was, or at least, uh, excuse me, maybe not for everybody, but for a majority of people, they'll be sitting there going like, wow, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. If you train for everything, then those things, those gotcha moments, man, the ones that you sit there going like, man, I didn't expect this. You're going to be better off. And so that's why I said I'm going to go back to this. Training is like your homework, and taking your quizzes. You got to make sure that you learn, so that way when you're ready for your final exam, or the final exam comes up, because it's going to come up, you're ready for that. So first timer for the half. Strategy for the photos. That's a great question. So photos, I'm lucky enough to where I start in the back, and by the time I actually get to the photos, there's nobody there. So I just run up there. And actually, if you see, I take a lot of pictures of the balloon ladies. It depends on you, where you start, what you're comfortable doing, what your goals are. If your goals are to get every character picture, you got two options that I see. Number one is try to start as early as possible, and you're going to be able to make some of those stops. When I ran the 10K, I just actually did the math. This was incredible. But when I ran the 10K, the lines were not as long as I thought. Now I started in the back, but then I haul butt in my first couple miles. And so by the time I would get to the characters, there wasn't as many, but I was running for time. So once I got up there, I was like, man, I could have taken all these pictures, but I didn't, because I was trying to finish in a certain time. So that's one. If you're starting in the back and you're staying in the back, like middle to the back and stuff, and by the back, I don't mean the very back like I do, but like 3/4 of the way in, you're probably going to have long lines. And so just be aware of that. And so that's when you can pick and choose. Yeah, I'm going to do this one. And again, if you're not worried about time, you don't care, start in the back with us. And you can run, start in the back with us. You're going to get every picture there is. So, okay, so David had a question. That's Telegram, and I think X has it. I'm not on X. Telegram, I have the app and I have it on silent, so I never see it. So when Telegram opens up, it opens up and it's going to beep you. So you're going to have to get into the app. So you're going to have to, just like Facebook, just like anything else, you're going to set up an account. You're going to get on Telegram. You're going to look at Run Disney alerts. Let me actually, while I have you guys here, let me see if I have it here. Telegram. Okay. Run Disney, Disneyland alerts, Run Disney alerts, Run Disney Princess alerts. So they're all here. So they can get them as a group, or you can get them individual. And I think they're going to have marathon weekend, so forth and so on. So I'm looking at that. Let me see if you guys can see. It's going to look weird because of the light. And so, yeah, you're not going to be able to tell. But so I can see these. And once it alerts you, you have a very limited time. It's going to be one of those because you got to realize that about 20 people are getting this and there's one slot open. So people are going to just get in there and try to get in there as quickly as possible. What I think that you should do when it comes to Disneyland, and this is a strategy that I think can help people, is once one race opens up, a second one will open up. So even if you don't get in the first time, stay and refresh. What has happened is I noticed that recently Disneyland, when it dings like for quite a bit, not quite a bit. And so, and they might not open up right away. So you get in there, you go, darn it, I'm off. And then you walk away, all of a sudden it dings again, and then you come back. So what I would start doing is once does that, for about the next 5 or 10 minutes, I would refresh because it might refresh before it dings, and you might be able to get one there. So that's it. So yeah, that's become my strategy. And those of you who don't know, I'll say this real quick. And so I kind of do my strategy for Dopey as of now is at the 5K. I'm going to start in the back all four runs, or at least that's my plan right as of now. The 5K, I'm just going to take my time like I usually do. I interact with people, try to get a couple of pictures, and that's it. The 10K, I think I'm going to, at least as of now, my goal is to push it. I'm going to start in the back, and I did an hour and 14 according to them, and then an hour and 13 according to my watch. And so I'm going to try to beat that. The half marathon, I think I'm going to stay in the back most of the race. If I do push it, I might start pushing it halfway through, and depending on how my legs feel. For the marathon, I'm staying in the back the whole time because I want to get as many people to finish as possible. So that's my goal to my goal for the marathon, of course, is for me to finish and to get as many people across that finish line as possible. I'll even consider seeing if I can carry somebody, getting people there. So no, and if, I just did the calculations for the 10K, and this goes to with pictures. I actually, when I calculated out, I passed up. I don't know how the percentage is, but I remember there was about 11,500 or roughly starters, and I finished in like 22. I passed up about 9,500 people. That is not an accurate thing about runners and or whatever, because you got to remember a lot of people will take their time because they got the half marathon the next day. A lot of people stopping for photos, so of course that's going to add to your time. But I was kind of amazed that I passed up, and that explains why, especially the last couple of miles, I can run up and there was a lot of I could get I can there was still a line, but they weren't that long because I passed up 9,500 people. So that's it. Yeah, hopefully you do, and hopefully anybody trying to get into the runs can get in through Telegram. That's going to be something that. Uh, so they cut off about 2 weeks before the Run Disney alerts for the races. To know for the first time, I'm so nervous. You're gonna be fine. Nervousness equals two things: excitement, and I should say it equals one thing. What I consider excitement. Just get excited. Just get excited. And the last day, you're going to be tired. It's going to be fun, but afterward, there's an accomplishment that goes with the finishing. That's one of the reasons I want as many people to finish any of these runs as any run, but any of these runs, because I'm participating in them and I'm going to try to help them. Is because you just never know what people are going. And I've said this before, what people are going on through their lives, and when they finish this, that sense of accomplishment is just amazing. It's just so cool, and the whole hope is that it they added, it's a stepping stone to something else in their lives, and that's what I hope that they do. That they see that they've accomplished something. You've accomplished something that not a lot of people have, and now you're confident. Your confidence grows and stuff. And God's honest truth, most of the time it lasts a day, two, a week, a month, or something like that. Then it kind of starts lying down. But the whole hope is that it propels you to a different level in your life. So the Marine Corps marathon, that's an intense one. So yeah, yeah. So when you get somebody to finish, I mean, it's a double. You get somebody to finish, and you just don't know what you've how you've changed that person's life, but also it makes you feel good that you did something for somebody else, and hopefully change the world in a positive way, and hopefully for the long term, not just the short term. And uh, that's all you can do is make it short term, and then it's up to that person. But my whole hope is that there's a lot of people who say, I can do this. I know I can do this now. So forth. So well, wanted to stay here. Again, I'm going to just keep reading, but I'm going to make my announcements now. Um, yeah, just doing the 10. It is. And it's amazing. And it's very, and before I go into this, so, and I'll answer that other question, the Disneyland runs. Okay. Um, it's when you accomplish these goals, I mean, it's something that goes a long way. It can go a long way. But here goes the thing: is that everybody thinks that a 10K, everything is relative. So for people that are not new to this, they've just been inactive all their lives. A 5K is like a marathon to a lot of people. So that's why they post something, or they're celebrating and stuff. And I celebrate them because that's a big accomplishment. So, I never, ever, ever want anybody to belittle anybody's accomplishment, because you never know what they've done, where they're coming from, and stuff. A good example, and I'm going to use my good friend Jonathan Siebert, who was told he was not going to be able to do a lot of this stuff, and he finished the dopey challenge. I mean, it's just amazing. I was so happy. And you know what? I'm going to use myself. I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and or via a messenger. And I don't know if you guys have. I know I've mentioned the story before, but if you don't know this, I was told a long time ago. I was a high school all state cross country runner. I got scholarship offers. I didn't take them. I stopped running for a long time. And then when I started back up again, I had a really nasty injury. It was a television set, but it was those old tube TVs that weighed about 60, 70 pounds. And I was moving, and I accidentally dropped one on my left leg. And when I did, it basically bruised my femur. It killed a lot of the muscle there. So I remember after about 3 months, I was told, because I still couldn't move my leg after 3 months, I was on crutches and I could drag it behind me. And the doctor told me, you're always going to walk with a limp and you're never going to run again. And I remember I wanted to prove him wrong. So I went, and this was a doctor in Laredo, Texas, which is about 2.5 hours away from where I was living. Came back, and I still remember that same day I jumped into the pool and started doing my training. It took about a year, and I take it for granted, because there was times during that scenario, just like anybody else, during that whole fiasco, I actually felt like quitting at times, and I never did. But it was a very quick, going into my mind and coming out, because I never doubted that I was going to do this. And that's one of the things that I wish people could really, really use, is just don't doubt yourself. Never ever doubt yourself. You're gonna do it. It's just a matter of time. And so I did it, and now I look back, because I've run so many half marathons and stuff. So I proved them wrong, and it wasn't the proving wrong. I wanted to prove myself right, and so I did that. But we take for granted that we can't, and we can't, what we can and can't do. And I always tell people, don't even ever let me tell you what you can't do. That's up to you. That's not up to me. So I'm doing all the races for Disneyland in January/February, and it's going to be my first ever yoga. I will be doing the yoga, and I've already told a friend of mine I'm going to be so darn cold, because I know it's going to be cold that morning. But I'm going to go there and I'm going to do that. Uh, so somebody asked another question about the shoes. This is my suggestion, because there's we had just talked about just using the right shoe that's for you. What I would do is, and you said you rotate them and stuff. How are you feeling? That's the thing, is how are you feeling? If, like, for example, if you're rotating these shoes and you're feeling good, that's probably a good idea to stick with them for now. If you're not feeling as good, what I would maybe do is use one week, then use another week, to see if it's just one or the other. And this is the time that you're going to start, going and finding out which shoe is the best for your foot. I usually use Saucony. So Saucony is my go-to, but it may not be somebody else's go-to. I just met somebody who said they hate Saucony. Uh, excuse me, Saucony ruined their feet, and so but mine are fine. So this is a time that just practice with them, make notes, whether it be mental or write them down. And if they're working, keep using them. If they're not working, this is when you start changing off. What I would do is, because I don't know your gait, I would need to watch a video, analyze your gait, and so forth. 'Cause, there's different things, and the ones who are more prepared for that is like a professional running shoe store, not academy, not Dick's. They're not professionals. They're there. They're schooled in a lot of different things, but not there. So I'd go to a Fleet Feet, something like that, because those the people that work there are usually runners. Have them look at your gait, have them make suggestions. Usually, you can return them if they don't work, if they're too expensive. The ones that work or the ones that seem to work, you can order them online, use them. Amazon, again, you can return them after a certain amount of time, or before a certain amount of time, I should say. So use them, and I would start using them now. But like me, anything that has a lot of padding on it, they feel good initially, but once I start running, after about 3 or 4 miles, they hurt my feet bad, and so they don't do that. So I need something that's a little bit more stiff, and so that's it. Um, and that's a great point. I'm reading this right now as we speak and stuff. Never ever, you know, I'm 56, so I'm 56, and it's hilariously funny how people will tell me, "Hey, let's go, do this. Let's go do this," and I said, "No, I gotta get up and train. I gotta get up." Well, why? It doesn't matter and stuff like that. Most of these people are not in the best shape. They're doing stuff. It's not their passion, and it is my passion. So I love doing this. So I don't even pay attention anymore. It's funny how once I stop paying attention and stop putting importance into that, how now they will ask me, "So how do you do it? And why do you man?" And goes, "I would love to do that and stuff." And some of them will even ask. None of them have started, at least. These are the people that I grew up with and stuff. But but one of my sisters will say, "Man, one of these days I might do one with you." And she's actually pretty fit. She does a lot of things. She's very active, and she's one of those that might end up joining me for, now that she's an empty nester, might join me for one of the runs and stuff like that. Yeah, she's very athletic, so she would do well in the run. So all right, so now I'm going to go over. I'm going to make the announcements, and you can still comment if you want to. Is I've decided to go back into coaching, one-on-one coaching. I decided to take about 5 to 10 calls a week, whether it be through Zoom or something of the like, or even a quick, a FaceTime or a call. But I more wanted to do. Most of you guys are already running, and you're going to be running, and you're going to have your programs that you're going to have. To me, the coaching would be more to kind of put it into perspective, what you can do to change individual, because you got to remember, and if you've been listening to anything I've said, everybody's an individual, everybody's different. So then I can start, because I actually have started working on with some friends of mine, asking them, "Well, try this, let's start working on this," and we can do that. And the good thing, what I wanted to do is, because I wanted to go back into to coaching, and again, I was going to charge, but I was going to put some of the proceeds forward to charities. And I've been getting closer and closer to a lot of the charities. And I have another thought that I was going to talk to, announce on here, is having to do with charities. But what I wanted to do also is help people who are actually struggling with fundraising with the charities, so they can reach out to me too. And let's say for 1 week, I would sit there going like, "Well, part of the proceeds I make this week, I'm going to go ahead and give them to your charity." And so that way it can help, double. And so yeah, so that's what I thought of doing. So now my second announcement, I've been talking to some of the charities behind the scenes, and I'm going to really start about mid December, really going on this idea. I took a picture. We talk about character pictures during the 5K at Wine and Dine, and somebody was one of our runners. We know the Kelsey's Hope people pretty well, so I've gotten to know Joe and Mel pretty well. They've become personal friends of mine and stuff. And I said, "All right." Somebody was wearing a shirt, and we were taking a group picture, and Hope's story. So they were there. Rick was there with his son. Noah, and they were trying to take a picture in front of the character because the line had gotten a little bit long. So when they were discussing that they were going to take a picture, like a selfie, I decided to go over there and I grabbed him and I said, "Hey, how about you join us?" So we had two different people with two different charity bibs on there. And so I thought to myself, you know what would be an awesome picture? This would probably have to be during the 5K at Disney World because through my connections, that's going to be the most viable time to do it. Is in front of Epcot, in front of Spaceship Earth, get to where we get at least one representative from every charity. So if you're running with a charity, you can reach out to them and say they want us to do this. And I've already reached out to Run Disney, so the MCs are on board with this. Is getting one representative, get a picture of them in front of like Spaceship Earth or something like that, as many as we can, so that we can post it. And Run Disney loves this idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. Think it's a great idea, and would love your thoughts. Would love your feedback. I would love your, saying, "Hey, I'm actually running through whatever." I can, contact them and let them know. But so far, I got about a handful of them already, and I've got about another handful that we're discussing, or at preliminary. I've reached out, but again, there's probably about 15 to 20, give or take. So I would love to have that done. I think that would be a great reality, and I think it would actually show what Run Disney is about. And so that's it. But besides that, those are my this is what my notes have. I'm basically done. If you have any questions, any other questions or comments, put them down below. I'll give it another like 3 minutes. And then, of course, on social media, on either Instagram or Facebook, I keep saying I'm going to go on to something else. I am on Telegram, so you can message me there. But I get a lot of spam people telling me, and it's pretty obvious they're not Run Disney people. So I kind of, okay, get them out, get them out, get them out, and stuff like that. So, but reach out to me, and anybody knows me. I always try to answer everything. So if I don't answer it right away, don't be disappointed. If I skip it, there may be a possibility, because this happened to me on in Instagram and on YouTube, where they just didn't notify me and I never saw comments. Some of them I actually saw months later. And so I reached out to those people and said, I am so sorry. I am not trying to ignore you. I just didn't see it until now. And so, but please reach out to me with any questions, individual questions that you may have, and go from there. But so I'm going to give it another couple minutes. But man, I hope you guys are enjoying yourself. We're going to get another cold front, or it's going to be like a cooler front next weekend. So this week it's going to be a little bit hot, and yeah, and but again, it's going to get us right into the dopey. And last couple of years have been pretty cold, so that's it. So thanks, Stephen. But it's been pretty cold at Marathon Weekend. So and I always tell people, um, you know, try to take advantage of the cold, because a lot of people say I don't like the cold, but your body can always warm up, especially during a longer run like the half marathon or full marathon. During the 5K, it may not warm up. 10K, it's if it warms up halfway, then you only got another half to go. So 5K and 5K, but the other ones you do. So thank you very much. No, you guys inspire me. Talking to your guys, hearing the stories. I've always chalked it up to where I can do. And for some reason, I'm blessed. I'm knocking on stuff. I can do it. But a lot of your stories really um, inspire me. So the dates for the wine and dine, let me look them up. They haven't officially announced it, but it's on the Run Disney page, because they have it. They have the coast to coast information, and that is going to be the 22nd through the 25th, 26th, and I think they added 26th because that's when I think they have yoga, but it's for sure 22nd through the 25th. So, oh wow, okay, yeah. So the for the 10K, that's the one I'm going to leave, but I will start in the back. So hopefully see you there. So I'll be starting in the back, and at least as of now, I'm going to take off. I thought about doing that with the half marathon, but I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to push it for the half marathon, and that's when people struggle a little bit more. So that's that. So okay, further ado, I want to thank you guys for putting up with me on a Sunday night. So, yes, Ian, and as a matter of fact, I'll be at Disney World December 3rd through the 7th. I will be doing I can't remember what days. I think it's the 4th. I'm doing Mickey's not so or Very Merry Christmas, and the 6th to Jollywood, or vice versa. But I think those are the dates. I'm going to try to December 3rd to go see. And they switched. Jennifer Garner was going to be speaking, but or narrating, and now it's going to be somebody else. But it's a good actress. It's the voice of Meg. I think the original voice of Meg is going to be there, so I'm going to go see that. And then December 15th through the 19th, I'm actually going to be at Disneyland. So I'll be over there. I'll reach out to anybody who's going to be out there. Let me know and stuff. But what's it called? Hope to see you guys there. And yes, I'll be trying to get in a few runs, shorter runs when I'm there, but I'll be able to get those runs. So thank you guys. You guys have a good night. Thank you guys for putting up with me, and see you sooner than later.